All right, guys. So we can't win them all, can we? All right, so it's time that I tell you guys on the YouTube channel, those who have been following along on the forum, thank you so much for following along the build for the Bearcat. Bearcat crashed. The Bearcat crashed, and you know, honestly, I had a lot of trepidation about the Bearcat going into this. Number one, it is a warbird, okay? So knowing that, and then number two, the finishing that I did, I knew that it was going to be much more longer lasting, but I also knew that it was going to be slightly heavier. So the all-up weight is, you know, it was about half a pound overweight of what they recommend. That's not a big deal to me, considering I've flown the 60 size Corsair 3.5 pounds overweight. So I wasn't too concerned about that, but I was concerned about the center of gravity. Now the center of gravity was 1/4 of an inch further forward than the recommended foremost location. And so what happened was I went out to the field and I did some taxi testing. She wanted to slightly veer to the left, which was kind of expected, especially with all the rotating mass of the 4-blade prop. So I punched forward on the throttle and got to about 2/3. I was happy with how I was accelerating, and I continued to correct my rollout, and she took off faster or sooner than I anticipated. Essentially, usually when I take off a warbird, I wait for the wheels to get a little bit light and then ease back off the elevator. But I try to keep some elevator pressure down in order to maintain steering. So in this case, what happened was I hit a bump at beginning of the year, and runway not being so smooth. Hit a bump, and she just sort of lunged into the air, and she was flying. And I'm like, okay, this is it. She immediately started to stall a little bit, which I corrected for, and then I was going nice and straight and level, and she wanted to stall again, and so I was able to correct. I'm like, okay, I definitely need more throttle. So that's when I went to punch the throttle all the way, and as soon as I had it punched all the way, I pulled back on the stick a little bit more to gain altitude because I was about to go into a hill, and she just did a loop. Well, a turn. She turned right on her back and went into the ground. It's about 20 feet off the deck. There was nothing I could do. So the moral of the story is, what I think happened is, number one, airspeed. I did not have enough airspeed, and I did not have enough airspeed for the tail to be effective. So this is one of those instances where forward CG was not necessarily what we wanted. Because of the surface area of the tail, I did not have enough surface area to keep flying at such a low airspeed. These are issues that you run into in scale aircraft. And I didn't even think about it. I didn't even anticipate this sort of thing happening. But it happens. I've seen it happen before. It's really not a big deal, too. You know, altogether with the things that I've lost, like the graphics that were specific for it, the glass, the paint, all that stuff. I mean, the airframe and everything, we're only talking like $130. Not a whole lot. All the electronics are salvageable. The landing gear, the motor mount, the ESC, the servos, everything. So, you know, minimal investment lost. And frankly, I had a whole lot of fun building it out. Now, thank you all so much for giving some watches on the Bearcat build series. You know, one day I probably will have a nice Bearcat, and I have no doubt that it will be just as much of a handful to fly. But until that day, we're going to keep going on the GB, and we've got another project coming right after the GB as soon as that's done. So stay tuned, and we're going to continue making great flying works of art.